Do you want to add a unique and stylish touch to your outdoor space? Join me as we create a stunning concrete succulent planter from scratch. Come with me today as we do a digital design. We'll do some 3D printing of some molds. We'll cast the concrete, paint the concrete, and then we're going to put some stunning succulent plants in. This is going to be fun. Welcome back to Timber West Design, where we talk timber, shade structures, and outdoor living. Here are the supplies we're going to need for this project. I'm going to make this project out of Cementol. This is a great casting material. We'll need a vessel to mix it in. We'll need an apparatus to mix the Cementol. I love this drill mixer. A scale is very handy. It's a 4:1 ratio of Cementol to water. A spatula is helpful. We're going to need a mold. I'll show you the rest of the molds in a minute. We'll need some mold release. This is the canola oil I like to use. Once the part is done, we're going to prime it. So I like this filler primer. It's going to fill some of the voids and some of the imperfections in the concrete. We'll need a guide coat. We'll need some sandpaper. We'll need some spot putty, and then we'll need the paint to finish it. After that's all done, we will put some soil in there and plant some plants. So we have the soil now. I don't have the succulents at the moment, but I'll show you that later. So I think we'll make this succulent planter about 16 inches long. It'll be an oval shape like this. We'll extrude it. Let's extrude it about 60 millimeters tall. Put some outward draft on it. And we're gonna pocket out the middle, or the center here. This is gonna be the bottom tray. Now we're starting to make the top section. That is the bottom tray. Now we've got the top tray. Let's shell out the top. That's going to be the planter. We'll add some fillets to it, make it nice and smooth. Now I'm going to get rid of the bottom. We're going to focus on just the top here. We're going to cut it in half. My 3D printer is not big enough to do 16-inch parts. We're going to have to do these in halves. So this is the bottom section of the mold. Now we'll make the top section of the mold. So we've got 3 parts here. We've got the orange part, the outer section of the mold. We've got the blue part, which is the inner section of the mold, and the gray represents the concrete. And then we're going to go to the end, and this is with bolt flanges, everything to go. We'll make this twice and put one on the other half to make the full part. Watching the 3D printer in action is always fascinating. It layers the design with incredible precision, turning a digital concept into a physical object. This process ensures our mold is accurate and durable and ready to handle the weight of the concrete. As you can see, we have lots of molds here. So this project is about 16 inches long. My 3D printer has a 10 by 10 capacity. So when we go over that size, we have to split molds into 2 halves. So I've got a bottom section with the top and bottom of each, and I've got the planter section with the top and bottom. So I'm going to put this all together, and I'll see you in a minute. Did you know that 8 out of 10 adults struggle with sleep? I was one of them until I found NuCalm. All you need is a mobile device, some headphones, sometimes a speaker to experience the difference. Rediscover the joy of a good night's sleep, just like I did. Download the NuCalm app today and enjoy a free trial for 7 days so you can experience this rejuvenation and rest. Okay, so to find out how much Cementol we're going to need for this project, the method we use is we fill this thing full of water, we're going to weigh it, and that'll help us determine what the formula is for our Cementol. So here we go. Looks like this thing takes 1,828 grams. This one's going to take more water. This will be interesting to see. 2134. It's time to put mold release on the molds. So I put them in a box to kind of contain the spray a little bit. I use this canola oil. A light coat is all we need. And we'll do each section. And when we're done, we'll put it all together. We're ready to pour. So the mold took 1,828 grams of water to fill it. So with that formula, we times that by 1.88 and come up with 3436. So 3,436 grams of cement. We take 25% of that and come up with 859 grams of water. Now this one, the water weight was 2,134 grams. So we need to make, we're going to times that by 1.88 and we're going to make 4,011 grams of Cementol. The water is 25% of that, which is 1003. I'm gonna mix this outside. This is a little bit more than I like to mix inside. The dust is something you do not want to breathe, so I'm gonna go outside and mix it, and I'll be back in a minute. We wanna get all the lumps out, and we wanna end up with pancake batter consistency. All right, we're all mixed up. It's time to pour this mold in. And just the exact right amount. Look at that. So we're back outside. I did this in 2 mixes just to kind of, so it's a little easier to handle. So this is my second mix for the top mold. We're gonna pour most of the water in, just so we have a little extra left over just in case. And let's mix this up. Last time I ended up with a few lumps in the corner, so I really gotta make sure I focus on getting all that done. I think we're good. Let's go back. Okay, second mold, here we go. I think that's gonna be good right there. I'm gonna just tap this a bit. I have this horizontal surface here, and it might trap some air, so I'm just gonna tap it. See if we can get everything to work, all the bubbles to work out. This one's already starting to set up. We're gonna demold this in a few hours, and then we'll see what they look like. See you then. It's been 3 hours. It's time to demold. I'm gonna take the bolts off. So I like to take a screwdriver in a case like this, just kind of wedge it in between the 2 molds, work it around, just kind of loosen things up a little bit. I can feel it coming loose. And look at that. This is always exciting to see the first pull. Let's see if we can pop the other side. Oh, look, it just came right off. Didn't even have to try. So this is the base. Let's go for the top now. It's coming off pretty easy. This is going to be the top planter area. Okay, I removed these bolts on both sides so it'll, oh look, it came right off. That was all we needed. This is how it assembles. So this goes in here, this goes in here, and that looks cool. I'm gonna give this a little bit of time to fully dry out. We're gonna prime it probably tomorrow, paint it, and I'll see you shortly. So with this design, this tray is gonna catch any water that seeps through from the planter base. And the planter base needs some holes. So we need to drill a couple of holes here. That was easy. One more on this side. Just to make sure I use a masonry bit for this. And now we have 2 drain holes. So my parts are ready to prime. I just want to take some sandpaper. We have some party lines where the molds meet. I want to just take a little bit of sandpaper and just kind of just touch up everything, make sure everything's ready to go for primer. If you got a little bit more you want to just sandpaper, I got this cool little sander that you can just kind of sand like that. It's really cool. In some of my previous projects, I've used a very textured paint. And what that does is it hides a lot of the flaws in the concrete. For this particular project, I'm going for a much smoother finish. And there are slight imperfections in the concrete, so I'm gonna start putting some Bondo spot putty on and just fill in the little details, sand that, do one more coat of primer, and just get it super smooth for a nice paint job. Another technique you can do besides using a putty knife is get a glove, put some on your finger, and your finger does quite a nice job doing a nice fill job here. There's quite a bit of spot putty on here, but the key to a nice paint job is very good prep. So I'm sanding the spot putty with 150 grit sandpaper, getting this all ready for one more coat of primer. I've got my second coat of primer done. So one trick when you're working with primer, right before you sand it, sometimes it's hard to see where the pinholes and minor flaws are. So you can do what's called a guide coat. So I take some flat black spray paint and I spray just a very light coat on top of my primer. And then as I sand that black off, it'll very easily show you where some of the flaws are. So you can see as we sand it, Just the dark. You got to sand that a little bit more, make sure all the flaws are out. I'm sanding this with 150 grit paper, and I'll finish it off with just a light 220 right before we paint. It's all sanded, smooth as a baby's bum. Now what I'm gonna do is take a damp cloth, just get all the dust off so it's nice and clean and ready to paint. Now it's just a matter of which color am I gonna pick. So the color I have chosen is Bare Chalk Linen White. I think it turned out pretty good. This is how it goes together. So we have the base, put the top on, they nestle together like that. So now it's time to plant. I don't know anything about succulents, so guess what? We're gonna go to a place that does. I'll see you there. We're at a nursery in Orem, Utah called Cook's Nursery. They're the experts here for succulents. As you can see, they have lots of big variety here. And I want to introduce you to Lexi. She is our expert and she's gonna teach us about succulents today.
Awesome. Succulents are a great choice here for some indoor plants. They're native to more desert environments type places. So here, if you have them inside your house, it gives you an option of having a house plant that will need a lot less water. So it's an awesome, awesome choice. Succulents come in a lot of different textures, sizes, different kinds of things, and they're just a great, great option just to have in your house that won't take as much effort and time as other plants will.
How about the soil? I understand that it takes a special soil.
Yes. So because they are more native to hotter, less waterful environments, soils like this are a great option because they're going to be a little bit better for drainage, which is what they're more used to in their natural environments. So having a good soil like this is a great way to help them thrive in your home. So the first step is we're going to take this awesome pot that we've made and we're going to fill it with some cactus soil.
And how full do we go?
We do want to fill it up probably most of the way, but you do want to keep in mind that the plants have some dirt themselves. So that's probably a good
Did I put too much in?
Nope, that should be just fine.
Okay, great.
We did just fill this up with some cactus soil. A lot of you might know that that doesn't say succulent. We have two options here at Cook's. We have a succulent soil and a cactus soil. They both just offer a better drainage for the pot. And I personally like the cactus one because the succulent one has a little bit more bark and stuff like that. So for me personally, I like my soil to be a little bit more fine. So that's why we went with the cactus soil today and not the succulent soil.
The soil's all in. What's our next step?
So our next step is planting, the fun part.
Awesome, let's do it.
Yeah. With the succulents, the fun part is that there's so many textures and colors. So really, it's all up to personal preference. You just kind of find what you like, what you enjoy in the pot, and you just kind of move from there. So what I like to do is I'm not gonna plant it perfectly. I'm just gonna set them around to get a good idea to make sure I like the pot and how it looks before I do the final pushing it together and decorations and stuff like that.
Got it, that makes sense. So Lexi, what are these plants? What are the names of these?
Yeah, so succulents they have very creative names is what I like to think. A lot of times I don't have most of them memorized just because they are so fun. But this one is a nice fun plant. It's called a senecio plant. It's a blue type one. There are lots of different types. This one's called a painted echevera because it just has, if you look at some of these lower leaves, it has the green as well as the red. It kind of looks like a painted one, so that's where it gets that name. And this one is a type of aloe, which is kind of interesting, just a little bit more compact and put together. This one is a lovely rose, is the name of it. If you look at it,
like a rose.
Looks just like a rose. This one is a very popular one that we have around here. It's called the string of pearls. A lot of people tend to gravitate towards that one just because it hangs down and looks really pretty. With a lot of the succulents, there are two different types that I think of. There's all these ones that look kind of like not a rose, but they're compact, have a center towards type thing. They're called echeveras. The ones that are like this that don't have that type of center, so this one, the string of pearls, this little guy over here, they all are just a different kind in my eyes. So with these succulent planters, I always like to start with kind of a center and work my way out, but it doesn't always work out that I like how it looks on the first try. So if you can tell, I haven't planted these down all the way. I like to kind of set them out to where they're kind of planted just to make sure I like the way that they look and I don't want any other textures or different colors in there.
So now what's our next step?
So now we're gonna kind of take the dirt out, any spaces that we have, and just move them together and kind of make sure that there's that little lip underneath where the pot starts so that we can get some water in there.
Great. Okay, sounds good.
Okay. We have these all planted up and ready. A fun little decorative thing that you can do with succulent pots is you put some rocks in it. So we found some that have some good texture just to give it a different look. So we're just gonna put those around in all the different spaces between the succulents.
Ooh, that looks fun. Can I help?
Yeah. One good thing to keep in mind about succulents is since they are from that desert environment, they are gonna need a lot less water. So when you're taking care of your succulents at home, if you're not sure if it's time to water it yet, a good rule of thumb is just to wait a couple more days, because probably 99% of the problems I see with people with succulents is all from overwatering. So I would just love to remind everybody just to keep a good eye on your succulents, and just, if you're in doubt, just wait a couple days. They can always go with less water, but overwatering will kill them very quickly.
This is awesome. Lexi, thank you very much.
Of course.
Appreciate it. I'll be back for another project with Lexi in a future date, but for now, I think this turned out fantastic. I love it when a plan comes together. This turned out better than I expected. I want to thank Lexi at Cook's Greenhouse for her handiwork. She did a great job. So Lexi told us to water this about once a month, and that if you're going to make a mistake, it's going to be from overwatering. So we're going to be very careful and just do a little bit of watering. I'm looking forward to owning this one. If you want to see more projects like this, like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.